July 2009, IESE hosted the third International Conference Work and Family on the theme of Harmonizing Work, Family, and Personal Life in Times of Crisis. To find out how individuals, families, and organizations were coping with the current socioeconomic context, we put two key questions to conference participants.
Some programs actually are being offered more now, others a little less now, but by and large, companies are not disbanding programs to any great extent. I think what we might find is that companies are going to be a little more, maybe they'll prune a little more about which initiatives that are most expensive that they might want to cut back a little. Perhaps they'll target select groups of employees to receive those that are most expensive in the best interest of the organization. So there might be some fine-tuning there, but I think that organizations are going to continue because the most important motive for providing work-life initiatives, according to the Family and Work Institute survey, is to retain employees.
Companies which have invested in policies like flexible work options feel that it's important to continue those so that employees have the supports they need during this very difficult time. On the other hand, work-life policies and programs which require a lot of financial investment, many companies may feel that they're postponing those programs until the economic times are a little better.
So we know that there has been some retrenchment. I think another way of thinking about it is what they would have been doing had the crisis not been there in the first place. Because we also know that companies are becoming more proactive and implementing more policies, and that's been a long-term trend. So while we might see some backpedaling, there likely could have been more programs being implemented in the next year or the next 2 years. But of course, at this point, companies are not inclined to make any more expenditures. They're trying to cut their losses as best as possible.
Having these policies is good impression management to the public. Having the policies is also a good way to try to attract good employees, because if employees are looking to work for companies that have such policies, they will be more likely to take your job offer compared to another job offer. However, in this time of economic crisis, what the reality may be is that employees will feel scared to make use of the policies. Employees are worried about keeping their jobs. The people who administer the policies are also worried about keeping their jobs. This means the people in the Human Resources Department, the supervisors who will have employees that are making use of the policies. So I think in a time of economic crisis, there's a greater emphasis on productivity, bottom line, number-oriented results than at other times. So my hunch would be, if one could do a study with the average amount of utilization of work-family policies, depending on what the economic conditions are, you will see the least utilization and the least encouragement to use such policies by employee supervisors in times like this.
Well, the thing is, which were the reasons why those companies were starting to be family responsible or having work-life policies? If the reason was just image, or just attracting and retaining people instead of really being loyal to these people, then it's easy that they don't remain with those policies. Otherwise, if they had, the reason was to make it easier for the people in the company to balance their lives, then it's easier than that they keep on doing that, because when you are really aware of the consequences of balancing work and family life, you see that the cost is not in those policies, but in not having those policies, which means you will have people less committed, and then even in the times of crisis, less wanting to do their best, which is when we need them most.
There are companies that, because of the crisis, they really need to be much more creative in the ways they are working. And so, for instance, they are allowing some of the employees to take a leave of absence of several months with the convincement of being aware that if those people really if they can get through the crisis, they will be able to retain those people, and those people will be even much more engaged in the company. However, we have also companies that really use their work-life policies only as a marketing tool, so that they get out in the newspapers, so that they make it to the public media. So those are the companies that at this point they are cutting down on those policies.
I haven't talked to any companies that are suspending policies, but I think companies are very reluctant to spend money right now on new policies. What I also see, though, is that this is an opportunity for innovation. And a lot of times innovation comes out of periods of crisis. So it may be that companies will be more open to something like telecommuting, which can also be justified by environmental issues, that job sharing may become more, companies may be open to that as a way to keep employees but have them reduce their number of hours.
I think that work-life policies are not being sloughed off, without thought and care. I think people in organizations are really just thinking very hard about what things are excess and what are central to the effective functioning of the organization.
This year, in May, we just did a survey of employers again, and we asked the question, have you cut back on flexibility? Have you increased flexibility, or has it stayed the same? And we found that 81% of companies had, in fact, kept flexibility at the same level. 13% had increased it, and only 6% had cut back. Employers are using flexibility as a way to control labor and operational costs. So then we wondered, are employees do they have any input in the flexibility? Is this just flexibility that would work for the employer? So we asked how much do employees have input in the kind of flexibility that companies offer? And we found that 57% of companies give employees some or a lot of input into the flexibility that they have, but still 44% are not giving employees input. Employers are using suggestion boxes to ask employees how they might cut costs. They're arranging time off to coincide with school vacations. They're letting people take time off if they want to, but have job security to come back. There are hundreds of creative ideas that employers are using. They're also giving employees much more financial advice, helping them use the money that they have more effectively, so that the good companies are doing a lot to help employees weather the financial crisis.